All right, so in my first video during this series, I said that the Now the Screaming Start movie was part of the Amicus anthology films. I was wrong. It's an Amicus film, yes, but it is not an anthology. Thank you to Dylan the cunt for pointing that out to me. That's a little sweet pet name we have for each other, so don't think I'm actually angry with the guy. But let's stick to the tales that witness madness. Madness! This is a great Blu-ray transfer. So if you're a big fan of this movie and you've been wondering about the transfer, excellent stuff. So it looks really, really good. Donald Pleasance is in this, and this is one of the youngest I've ever seen him look. Now, the wraparound for this movie is this doctor scientist dude. And he's trying to convince this guy that what his patients are telling him is actually the truth. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the wraparound until about the very end. We'll save that for the last here. So let's get into the segments. Now, the first segment is about a young boy who has created an imaginary friend because his parents are constantly arguing and fighting and causing a ruckus. Can you describe the ruckus? Which I think is a typical response a child has. I mean, they revert into some kind of safe place and create people who they feel comfortable around. And in this case, the kid creates, a big tiger that, would protect him and would be there for him if his parents lost it and whatnot. So I totally get where the kid's coming from, and I also understand that people would never believe in a million years that this was a legit thing, like that he actually has summoned some kind of a tiger. But as the episode continues, or the segment continues to go on, we see that some of it comes into fruition by the mom finding paw prints and then claw marks on the door, and she's sitting there thinking like, man, my kid's going to great lengths to believe, to make us believe that our kid actually has a tiger in this room. And then, as expected, the tiger is real, and the tiger attack on the parents is pretty vicious, man. I was like, wow, holy shit, that would suck. That seriously, I don't think there's a good way to die, and I say this a lot, but man, that is one of the worst ways to die. To be mauled by a tiger, eaten alive, clawed. Oh, how horrible. I mean, I know his parents were kind of dicks, but I don't think they deserved this. Maybe he just needed to go to a different family. Yeah. Moving on to the second one. Now, the second one is pretty silly. A guy gets a possessed penny farthing or a high wheel, which is one of those old bikes. Obviously, if you're listening, hopefully you've seen this movie since we're getting into spoilers here. But if for some reason you're just here to listen to me rant like usual, a penny farthing is one of those large old school bikes with a big front wheel on it. And he also gets a picture of Uncle Albert, and he puts it right above the penny farthing. And the penny farthing and Uncle Albert's photo, which keeps changing faces when he's like concentrating or whatever the hell he's doing, possessing the guy, he like forces him to get on the penny farthing. Like he's trying to get away from it, but he can't, and he's like compelled to go back and get on this thing and ride back in time. Now, this is what I was confused about, and maybe someone can, enlighten me on this, people who have seen this, because I posted this in a group, and there seems to be some fans of this movie, like a few more than I expected. But I never understood what Uncle Albert was trying to accomplish by making this guy go back in time. Like, we never really found out. And the fact that, he kills him in his flashback, wouldn't that create some kind of a paradox? Because Uncle Albert's painting or picture or whatever is up on above the mantle, or it's just on the wall, sorry. But I don't know. He couldn't have existed at that age if he killed him back in time like that. And so, I don't know. I really don't understand. And I don't really understand why he was that opposed to it once he had already been back and it had been successful. It wasn't like he was seeing anything all that scary. I mean, there was Uncle Albert's, like, rotting corpse out in the, behind the trees. I can't remember if he actually saw him while he was there or not. He might have. But I couldn't figure out what the hubbub was on either side. Like, what was his intentions on making him go back? Was it to meet another girl? I must have honestly just missed it. This will be one that I'll be made fun of and be like, what are you talking about? It was clearly explained. Maybe it was. I just didn't catch it. I was just kind of like, why is this guy so scared to be back? I mean, yes, if I found something that took me back in time, I would be apprehensive. But I don't know. He's being forced to do it, and he's like screaming and like, no, and like fighting it so hard. And it's like, I mean, you're just writing a penny farthing and seeing some old memories. It felt like an Assassin's Creed, game or something. It didn't really seem all that dramatic. But anyway, moving on to the third one. Now, this guy finds a tree stump that looks humanoid in shape and brings it back to his house and places it right in the living room. And the wife starts to get jealous of this feminine shaped tree, and she's like trying to seduce him, and the guy's like keeps like knocking more of the bark off, and the body becomes more and more feminine looking, and she's like getting jealous of the tree, and to the point where like she ends up dying, and he replaces her in his bed with the tree. So so many like fucking splinters in the dick jokes I want to make right now, but I'll refrain. I haven't seen a killer tree much, except for maybe in the movie The Guardian. But this segment was pretty silly. I mean, I get it. There's for some reason she's feeling this aversion to the tree. Like, I guess she can feel its presence. She can feel that it's more than a tree. So she's just like, no way, you're not keeping that in the house. Jealousy ensues. But I don't know. A woman being jealous over a fucking tree, and then the tree ending up in bed at the end. And then at the very end, during the wraparound, like the tree like comes up and like puts its arm out, and like they walk off together like they're in love. It's pretty silly. And moving on to the last one, the fourth one, the sacrifice. The young girl who's being wooed by this guy who's she's trying to fuck and or marry. She's like, don't you want to sleep with me? And she's like, well, should we get married? And I've never had sex with anybody. I mean, he's trying to find a virgin to sacrifice. But I don't know, this one was really uneventful as well. I wasn't all that thrilled with it. When the guy was cutting up the meat at the end, there was just like a slab of beef, and they just threw like red paint over it. And I'm not sure why they didn't just let the blood from the steak itself run out, because it was really a big steak, a true real steak, and it was bleeding anyway. And then they also threw like really fake blood on top of it, and it just, I don't get the choice there. That was silly to me. And yeah, I mean, and then Donald Pleasant's doctor is like, he's like, see, look, and he keeps looking back. He looks back like 5 times. I guess it was just to us as the audience. He was eventually going to look back, and we were like, oh my God, is it going to be this time? Oh my God, is it gonna be? It never happens. And then at the very end, he realizes he was real, or all of it was real, and he gets attacked by the tiger. I don't know if it just took a while for it to catch up for him to be able to see the truth, because Donald Pleasance was able to see it and he wasn't, and then he was. I also love that when he goes to close the door, there's 2 buttons that say open and close, like big as day. And he goes, when the door is open, and he presses open and it closes. I was like, second take, maybe? Second take? No? I thought that was just funny because it's like so big. The buttons are so big, and one clearly says open and one says close. Now, maybe because it's the Blu-ray and I can see it better, and people who own the VHS are like, "What are you talking about? I didn't see that." Yeah, it was very clear. Anyway, this one was fine. I think that there's some nostalgia at play here for sure for people who are big fans of this one. But if not, I mean, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong for liking it. It was just fine for me. I didn't really have a bunch in here that I was all that crazy about. So, all right, let's move on to the last one, the Uncanny. You can kind of see it. All right, I'll see you over there.